Good morning, Ninja Clan. Today we've got a game against Vynnset. As always, we are playing as the main character FaB, and this is through the Talishar.net client. Still running with Andrew Weber's Emberblade Battle-Hardened Top 8 list. Using his sideboard guide, we do not have one for Vynnset, so we are going to use the Briar matchup guide here, which is just making the deck a little more aggressive. We don't need all of our blue pitch, we don't need defense reactions. We are playing Command and Conquers over Soulbead Strikes. I'm not sure how I feel about this in the list overall. Runeblades notoriously use Crown of Providence as their main headpiece. Sometimes they do block with it, just to mitigate damage and end up getting caught by Command and Conquer later in the game. Sometimes they don't block the Command and Conquer at all, opt to lose the card in Arsenal. So it isn't like Command and Conquer never has value against a Runeblade. I've just found that it is harder to get value out of Command and Conquer against Runeblades because they have so much armor and don't mind going down on cards. We run 80-0 against Vynnset. I've literally never seen one activate Scepter of Pain before this game, so I am less concerned about that being a strategy overall. Vynnset's ability means that we are often cannot prevent the damage if we wanted to, and as FaB, with our relatively low blue count, we often find that there are better things to do with our resources anyway. Preventing 1, 2, or even 3 points of damage is worth less than just using the card to pay for an Emberblade and a FaB activation. Our turn here really playing itself out. We're using the Command and Conquer, pushing 11 damage over the course of this turn. This Command and Conquer being a Soulbead Strike, for example, pushes a little more damage. We can pitch Salt the Wound to use Emberblade, pick up our Phoenix Flame, then attack with Salt. Overall, it pushes 8 damage instead of 6. But the Vynnset does choose to lose the Arsenal rather than use the Crown. So we did get some extra value from that. Deathly Whale is going to make Rune Chants at the end of this chain. We have taken damage. This is not an on-hit ability. It just is a thing that happens if we've taken damage, which includes to sources like Rune Chant. So against Vynnset, we really just go blinders on. We're really not trying to block anything unless it'll kill us. Mauvery Skies being the exception to that. This Vynnset was very skilled. I do remember this. Closing the chain to get the Deathly Whale trigger. Shroud in Darkness, giving an additional Rune Chant and allowing Vynnset to cast Widespread Ruin out of Banish. That was a really big turn for Vynnset. We had a fairly sizable turn on our end, but certainly not enough to keep up with, what was that, 19 points of damage? From a 4-card hand. It's really, really strong. Back to our side of the table, we have a pretty weak turn coming up. We are interested in arsenaling this Art of War and setting up for a big double finisher turn. It helps that Vynnset does not seem committed to keeping this hand. I disagree with the line we're taking here. I understand what I'm doing. This is going to let me arsenal a Lava Burst, so I can still set up for a good double finisher turn. But I do wish that I had had the Art of War here. Attacking with Lava Burst without Rupture is obviously pretty poopy, but it's fine. There isn't, I feel fairly confident that there isn't a ton Vynnset can do off of 2 cards, even with a Deathly Whale in the banish zone. You're choosing to give up creepers. We Arsenal. This would be a pretty good Art of War turn. Pitch a blue, banish a blue. Vynnset would have was it a Deathly Whale and this Vile Inquisition? The Inquisition gets banished, then played. The Deathly Whale, I guess, would have just gone into the arsenal? Maybe the other way? I don't know. Vynnset had a pretty awkward hand there, and if we had an Art of War here, we could really take advantage of that. As it is, we don't. We have 2 finishers. Vynnset has a ton of armor, so I'm not confident that this Snatch would hit. Snatch is also not the finisher I want to see if I'm trying to set up a big Mask of the Pouncing Lynx Snapdragon turn. So this hand overall is not incredible. What we can do is pitch a Soulbeat Strike to FaB, pick up our Phoenix Flame, and then play the Phoenix Flame for 0, which lets us use the Emberblade, pitch our Lava Vein Loyalty. Emberblade has go again. We follow with Ravenous Rabble, and finally either Snatch or Lava Burst, depending on how much damage Vynnset is committed to taking. It's a shame that we don't have a Draconic starter in our hand, but you work with what you have. We only have 1 Phoenix Flame in our graveyard, so it isn't a huge misplay that we didn't activate FaB on our opponent's turn. Probably a good habit to get into, something I should have done here. If we had 2 Phoenix Flames in our graveyard, then we would be able to activate FaB to pick one up. But with just 1, it really doesn't matter. Showing an Art of War on the top of our deck is interesting. We still have a choice of how do we want to potentially use our Snapdragon to play 2 finishers, and if we don't snap, which finisher do we want to use? I'm very uninterested in using Snatch here, using Snapdragons to play Snatch. I am not confident that Vynnset would even block this Lava Burst. I would need her to give me armor for the Snatch to even have a chance of hitting, and I don't feel confident that she will do that. Also, knowing that I have an Art of War coming up and I have a Lava Burst in Arsenal, I'm very interested in keeping both of those and trying to set up a Lava Burst, break Pouncing Lynx to find Salt the Wound, Snapdragon, the Lava Burst, play Salt. So if I'm choosing, if I've eliminated the option of using Snapdragons this turn, and I'm deciding which attack without go again I want to play, I choose Lava Burst. It is not the decision I would make now. I would have sent the Snatch, push 4 points of damage instead of 6, and have the Art of War available. Drawing 2 Art of Wars is kind of unfortunate. We don't mind banishing this Enlightened Strike from our first Art of War. We just need to make a decision of how we want to pitch. Are we pitching an Art of War to play an Art of War, or are we pitching a Soulbeat Strike to play an Art of War, hoping that we draw into something, potentially playing a second Art of War? Making the call now. I would like to pitch the Soulbeat Strike. Thankfully, we don't have to make this decision. Widespread Annihilation does take a card from our hand, and we can give up the second Art of War. Play Art of War, banish Enlightened Strike, get a pretty clunky hand. This being a Snatch instead of a Lava Burst is a little tragic. expecting Vynnset to give us quite a lot of cards here. She still has 6 armor available and 4 cards in hand. So I'm not really thinking that I'm going to be able to break Pouncing Links this turn. Instead, what I might look at doing is playing the Spreading Flames. The easy, obvious line is Spreading Flames, Snatch, Snatch. The first Snatch gets armor and a card. The second Snatch might get armor and a card. The first thing we want to do is send Spreading Flames and see how much armor Vynnset is committed to giving us. It also opens a door for a potential Emberblade follow-up if we did want to pitch a Snatch for that. Leading with Snatch here, I believe, is correct. I'm really interested in getting cards out of Vynnset's hand, and I want to offer up Spreading Flames as a 4 to bait armor, so that Vynnset has to give us cards from hand. I also just want to see if Vynnset is potentially willing to let me trigger Mask of the Pouncing Links. Pouncing Links here, finding Double Strike isn't the worst option I have available. It is 5 damage on an Art of War turn with Shuko. That's the absolute floor of what I'm looking for from a Pouncing Links, but Vynnset is at 13. 5 damage from Pouncing Links when your opponent is at 13 is, in my opinion, worth a lot more than 10 damage from a Pouncing Links when your opponent is at 40. Leading with the Snatch here, we do get a card from hand and a piece of armor from Vynnset. Checking the cost on Deathly Wail, seeing that it is more than 2. So Vynnset cannot just banish this card and play the Deathly Wail. I'm deciding if I want to snap this and follow up with Snatch, knowing that Vynnset will need to give me a card from hand to block it. Choosing not to, I'd rather save the Snapdragons. Vynnset, unfortunately, does have a 2 cost available to banish, which is a shame. 2 cost Runeblade card available to banish, so we are going to end up taking some damage this turn. Vynnset threatening lethal. Still with a healthy life total and a healthy amount of armor, so things definitely not looking good for us. But we do have our Pouncing Links available. 5 is an okay life total to be at against Vynnset. It is going to take some doing on her part to set up the rune chance to make this turn happen. Considering that this is a Snatch, and I do still have my Pouncing Links and Snapdragons, I really only want 1 finisher for this turn. In hand and arsenal, I'd like to Pouncing Links for the second finisher, which is all to say I don't need this Snatch. Definitely blocking with this Snatch. I can block with the second half of Furnace. This prevents 3 damage. I go down to 2. That's a little low. While I would be able to get Shuko value on this next turn with a Phoenix Flame from Flame Call, 1 in my graveyard, and looking for either a Lava Burst or Salt the Wound, I am going to get more out of it by blocking with it now, preventing 2 points of damage, and not definitely being dead to Rune Chance. If I end up with a awkward turn, I can't take Vynnset off of Shroud in Darkness, Deathly Wail, or Read the Runes, pass, then I am just dead. Blocking 5 here, going 4. I have to give up a lot to make this happen, but it means I'm not just dead. As it is, we're going to open with our Snatch and snap it. This isn't ideal, but we do really want the Phoenix Flame Tutor from Flame Call, and this does give our Blaze Headlong go again. So we are going to use our snaps here. Vynnset just giving us the armor. We expected this, but still unfortunate. Extra snaps here. We're going to lead with... Goodness. We're going to lead with the Flame Call. No, we're going to lead with the Blaze. Blaze does get the second half of Grasp and a card from hand. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to use Mask of the Pouncing Lynx this turn. We have a Flame Call and 2 Phoenix Flames coming up. I would have liked to see me lead with Emberblade here, see if Vynnset wanted to give us a card to prevent 3, which would open the door for being able to mask into a Lava Burst. As it is, Vynnset can just block both of the Phoenix Flames. It's very inefficient, but it does buy her some time, and that might be what she's looking for. We don't have our Snapdragons anymore, so there's a real possibility that we can just not draw a Draconic Starter. There's a real chance that we just don't draw something with Go again. Here Vynnset does let the Phoenix Flame hit. We're going to take our Lava Burst value where we can. There is no Shuko trigger here, just notably Lava Burst here attacks for 5, Salt the Wound would attack for 4. Vynnset, having gone down to 1 card in hand on blocks, just makes a Rune Chant, passes the turn. Decides not to attack with the Flail, which is probably okay. Flail would be a hard one for us to block at this point. We really don't want to give up a card, but Vynnset going to 2 is not where she wants to be either. Here, pitching our Soul Bead Strike on our opponent's turn to pick up a Phoenix Flame. We do have 2 in the graveyard, and while we will be able to Rise from the Ashes to pick up the second one, we just want to leave the opportunity to activate FaB if we needed to. We aren't going to here. If this Salt the Wound was a blue, we could pull it off. If this was a blue, I'll walk you through the line, is play a Phoenix Flame, which attacks for 3. Vynnset blocks, we close the chain. We can play Phoenix Flame for 0, Emberblade for 3, pick up a Phoenix Flame, send that for 1, and then Lava Burst. Even then, we're missing a point of damage on the Phoenix Flame because we don't have our Shuko. So even if this was a blue, I don't know how tricky we're trying to get with this turn cycle. As it is, this turn kind of plays itself. Phoenix Flame for 3, Phoenix Flame for 1, Emberblade for 3, Lava Burst for 5. Vynnset does have 1 last point of armor she can give us, but she does have a point of blood debt. So unless she is going to hold on to enough cards to cast Deathly Delight from Banish, she just can't go to 1. If she goes to 1, she dies. So we'll see how efficiently she can block all of this out. We see a Pummel. Great that that was never used against us. Good to see it here on blocks. Phoenix Flame coming in for 1. The game should be over at this point. Vynnset does choose to block the 1 to stay at 2, but we get to Lava Burst over the top. I don't think there's any combination of cards that would have kept Vynnset alive there against the hand we had. If they had a 3-block instead of a Pummel, and we had a Blaze Headlong or a Snatch or even a Salt the Wound instead of a Lava Burst, they could have stayed alive, pass the turn, go to 1 from the Blood Debt, and then just hope that we brick. But we did draw pretty well there at the end. So that's the Vynnset matchup as far as I can tell. Vynnsets are getting better. In that first week, I have a couple of videos in the before times of my channel where we just eat Vynnsets, just a series of non-games. But Vynnsets are definitely getting better, figuring out the tech. I don't know if she's quite there yet, but we won the game at 4 life with no armor, and I think if Vynnset had had one more big turn in there, then we definitely lose, or at least have to fight a lot harder to maybe somehow scrape out a win. But for overall game plan, we don't block. I wouldn't waste time with Arcane Barrier here. Aside from Moth Skies, Vynnset doesn't have on hits, and we didn't even see a Moth Skies from our Vynnset. I don't know if that means she isn't running it, or if she didn't draw it, but if she's focused more on a Creeper's game plan, then that's even fewer on hits for us to care about. You don't block, you play efficient turn cycles, try to set up your 5-card Art of Wars, strip the Vynnset's hand so she just kind of sits with Blood Debt, and that's the game. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you all learned something. Leave a comment down below if you did, if you didn't, if you saw misplays on my part that you want to point out. I do enjoy criticism of my game, as long as it is constructive for my constructive gameplay. Like, subscribe, share these videos if you know anyone who's up and coming in the game, wants to try out FaB, might not know what hero they want to play, but they enjoyed aggressive decks and Magic. FaB is more or less the one-to-one analog. Otherwise, I will see you all back here tomorrow for another video. So take care of yourselves. Goodbye.